Hey guys, David here with a new review for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This one's called No Regrets, one that is very emblematic about the big theme about this episode, because for the first time I feel like we did get a slightly slower episode. I feel like this is the slowest episode we've gotten so far in the new pod of episodes that are part of the whole Agents of Hydra framework type storyline. But that's still not saying a whole lot, because we still had something really big and really effective happen at the very end of this episode. I want to talk about really quickly the moments that led up to that big moment, which is an awful lot of character moments where an awful lot of characters were having like one-on-one conversations with other people. And that may not have been the most exciting of things for viewers, but they are really integral moments that really make the heart and soul of this show, which is why it sets it apart from other shows that people kind of tear apart, like Gotham or shows like that. And it's this is one of the reasons why shows that are based on superheroes, like the Marvel TV shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, or even some of the Netflix shows like Daredevil, and hell, I'll go as far as to say some of the CW shows like Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, the reason why they've gotten better and they've become some of the more definitive shows to watch for superhero geeks like myself is because they take their time to have these character moments. And we saw some of them shine here in this new episode with little moments. I don't want to talk about too many of them and dissect them one by one, but we had Simmons meeting back for the very first time within the framework, and then for the very first time in general, his daughter Hope, and seeing how they had that connection there, even her black and white stance about the framework not being real, starting to develop that gray area where she's like, I don't know, like, I don't want to put him at risk, even though he is just a program here. This is just an illusion, and yet I don't want to tarnish that. So she's having a little conflict amongst herself, which is kind of ironic because it comes right after revealing the truth to both Ward and Mace that, yeah, this is all fake. And again, going back to those character moments, her conversation with the two of them and how Mace kind of puts himself in a very vulnerable state, saying that, hey, I felt pain. I had to bury some of my friends. I had to see some of them dying. You're telling me that this is not real? That one actually kind of got me a little bit. We had a scene between Daisy and Aida talking about how it is that this came to be and why Wonder Grid is able to change this whole lives, and her exchange with Radcliffe. And again, an awful lot of character moments that not only showcased their relationship with one another, whether it be an antagonistic versus protagonistic type of relationship, but also some really great performances from an awful lot of this cast. Like, they pull their A game, especially from Radcliffe losing it within his cell and breaking down to, again, various other moments with Elizabeth Henstridge as Simmons, and even going back to Fitz, who we finally meet his father in this episode, and we kind of see not only him being alive but being around in his life. We're starting to see these regrets that were existent in the real world, but because they're non-existent here, we see how they can kind of ebb and flow the personality of a person, and why it is that now Fitz's father being in the picture alternately vastly alternated his life, and hence took him down this path of becoming the very infamous and very feared Doctor. The only thing I kind of wish we could have seen, but I feel like maybe we'll get the gist of it in future episodes, is that I want to see more of these regrets. We kind of have an idea. We can kind of paint our own picture of where Fitz stands with his regret and how that was taken away, and how that altered his personality. And to a certain extent, May, especially in this episode, after having her big fight with Mace, and which was a really cool and well choreographed scene that was very nerdy, because you are seeing kind of in a way two Inhumans going at it right here, so that was pretty cool, especially how this whole fight scene ended with her being embedded right into that brick wall. I was like, oh, that looked painful. Even my back hurt. But seeing how she has her turnaround by the end of this episode after seeing the kids within, and how she is tied to kids. Kids are her vulnerable spot, which I thought was really interesting, because the whole entire time I was like, okay, what's going to make her have that switch around, just like it did with Coulson and with other characters here so far, is what's going to be that thing that's going to snap her out of it? Is it going to be Coulson, because they were kind of having a little romance in the real world? Or was it going to be Andrew, you know, who turned into Lash? It was neither one of those choices. It was actually the thought of children being in danger that really put her into a perspective and made her go, holy shit, what the hell is going on? Am I working for the wrong people? And that's what made her take that stance at the end of this episode, where she snaps the Terrigen and she gives Daisy back her powers, which was really cool. The only thing that's kind of weird is that I think May should have been dead if she inhaled the smoke, but that's just me. That's just me nitpicking. Speaking of Daisy's powers, Holy shit. Some of you guys that watch my videos, you guys are smarter than you think. You guys are awesome. You guys are really awesome, because somebody posted in the comments, I think it was in last week's episode or maybe the one before that, can't remember, and I can't remember who it was. I'm sorry, dude, or dudette, if you're a woman. I can't remember. I really can't. Somebody said that I think a certain someone is going to make a return to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this alternate reality, considering that Daisy doesn't have her powers, because her acquiring her powers came at a very grave cost in the real world back in Season 2. Well, we see that cost be stripped away with the return of Agent Triplet, who makes his appearance in this episode. That was not that big of a surprise, considering that the people behind the show put his name at the beginning of the credits. I saw his name and I'm like, wait, isn't that... Oh shit. And that's when the whole theory that I saw in that comment came back into my mind, and I'm like, oh wow, it's coming true. You guys were correct. But still, the surprise was kind of dimmered down just a tad bit by putting that. Guys, why do you do that? Alright, whenever you have a special guest appearance or a special cameo saved up for an episode, don't put the name in the opening credits. Save it for the ending credits, where you put special guest stars like that. The only other show that does this really well is House of Cards, where somebody from previous seasons pops on and I'm like, holy shit, there they were, and then at the very end it says so and so returning as blah blah blah. I was like, okay, that was cool, you didn't spoil it for me. Anyways, rant aside, Triplet's back. Love to see him back in the show. Still think that the actor could use some better work with his deliveries. I always thought that he was probably one of the weakest characters, and that's probably why I didn't really feel so much for him when he did die. But it's cool to see some tie-in back to Season 2, and I'm wondering to see how it's going to fit into the Resistance, considering he makes part of the Resistance in the alternate universe. However, with the acquiring of a new character that everybody loved, I liked, but I didn't love as much as everybody else. We did, however, lose one of our own, which is that big event that I was talking about. So even though the majority of the episode was a little slowed down because we had one-on-one conversations with characters developing and having these character moments with each other, the only singular plot that was kind of moving throughout the episode was Coulson, Mace, and Burroughs trying to take this bus so that they can infiltrate this place and take back Triplet. That was the whole case behind the deal. However, it came at a cost, and that is Mace. Mace, unfortunately, loses his life as the Patriot. He goes out as a hero, as he always wanted to be in this alternate universe, which he thankfully got to be outside of the real world, because in the real world, unfortunately, he was phony. Here, he was not only a genuine inhuman, but he was also a genuine hero. He got his redemption after faking the whole thing in Vienna. He finally got that come about that I really love in great storytelling and great screenwriting, and I love that they implement that here. It's just sad that it came at the cost of having to say goodbye to Agent Mace, because if you die in the framework, you die for real. And judging by the last shot of this episode, which is probably our very first glimpse into the real world ever since we came back with these new batch of episodes, we see Aida dispatching him from the framework and disconnecting his body, and so we have to say goodbye to Agent Mace. But it's good to see that he was given a very proper exit, because this is the way to do it, and I think it came about at a very perfect moment where he not only did he go out as a hero, but he was able to bring out that consciousness out of May to work for the right team. There's no getting around that this was probably the slowest episode of this new batch of episodes thus far. I mean, it was quite noticeable, because it's not the slowness that I'm used to. I'm used to seeing a bit more action, a bit more kinetic, jumping back and forth between characters, trying to decide what's their next move, instead of having their conversations with one another about what's going on within the moment. But these moments are appreciated, because not only do these characters get fleshed out more, but also sets things up to come, so that when we do get into the hard shit, we are genuinely invested. And I honestly feel like this may be the only episode that's going to be this slow, if not probably one of two episodes that are going to be this slow before we finally get things moving to lead us up into the finale. Because again, we got a slight little taste of the real world there at the very end, so it's only a matter of time before we finally jump out of the framework and we take the fight to Aida and Russian dude, can't remember his name, but newly enhanced Russian dude with a brand new body, his head is in a jar, let's not forget that. So, I'm going to be giving No Regrets a low 8 out of 10. Not necessarily my most preferred episode of this new Agents of Hydra storyline, but definitely one that had a very impactful and very important moment happen at the end of this episode. It's just sad that we have to see a character go like Mace, because he went out in a moment where I was genuinely beginning to really like him. So That's what a great show does to you. It kills your dreams and makes you feel like shit. So, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of Mace's death. Do you think it was important? Do you think that it was done in a very cathartic and meaningful way? And what do you think about Triplet coming back? Do you think that he's important to the storyline? Do you think that maybe they should have just left him well enough alone? And what are your theories to how they're going to be using him in the show, and what's going to transpire within the next few episodes, in hopes that maybe we can get Fitz to come around just like everybody else is starting to do so as well. Please let me know all your feedback in the comments below. Like and share this video, and of course subscribe for more reviews about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. amongst other things nerdy culture wise. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time guys, take care.